Na mtazamaji wangu, karibu kwenye taarifa zetu za sasa hivi, taarifa za Undugu Adhuhuri zinazoletwa kwako kupitia runinga yetu ya Undugu 0782 705 705. Unatazama runinga ya Undugu ukiwa maeneo gani? Jina langu ni Sebastian Mariah. Karibu nikujuze tuliokupakulia siku ya leo. Naanza na taarifa hii ambapo Seneti itasikiza kesi ya kubanduliwa kwa naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua siku ya Jumatano na Alhamis wiki ijayo. Kwenye uamuzi wa spika wa Seneti Amason Kingi ameelekeza kuwa ushahidi wowote wa pande zote mbili, ikiwemo ile ya naibu wa rais na bunge, kuwasilisha ushahidi wao ifikapo saa 11 Jumatatu jioni wiki ijayo. Aidha, kikao kizima cha Seneti kitasikiza mashtaka yote kinyume na kubuniwa kwa kamati maalum.
Honorable Senators, as I communicated earlier today during the sitting, by way of a message on the resolution of the National Assembly, Article 145(3)(b) of the Constitution, as read together with Article 78(1), provides that the Senate, by resolution, may appoint a special committee comprising 11 of its members to investigate the matter. The motion having been deemed to be withdrawn, pursuant to Standing Order 71, the proposal for a special committee is defeated. The Senate will therefore proceed with the investigation of the proposed removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, in plenary. Honorable Senators, in line with the schedule of activities for an impeachment hearing in plenary, I hereby give the following directions. A, the clerk to issue invitations to appear to the Deputy President today, Wednesday, the 9th of October, 2024. B, the clerk to issue invitations to appear to the National Assembly today, Wednesday, the 9th of October, 2024. The parties to file their responses with the Office of the Clerk of the Senate by Monday, the 14th of October, 2024, by 5 p.m. D, the clerk to circulate documents received from the parties, including the plenary hearing program, to all honorable senators upon receipt on Monday, 14th of October, 2024. And the Senate shall then investigate the matter in plenary on Wednesday, the 16th, and Thursday, the 17th of October, 2024. The Senate is accordingly guided.
Na jumla ya wabunge 281 jana walipiga kura ya kuunga mkono hoja ya kumuondoa ofisini naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua. Wabunge wengine 44 walipiga kura ya kupinga mswada huo. Zoezi hilo la kupiga kura liliandaliwa mwendo wa saa 3 usiku baada ya siku nzima ya kusikiza kauli za wabunge dhidi ya naibu wa rais.
Nays 44. Abstentions 1. And the ayes 281.
As I had guided the House earlier in today's sitting, Article 145(2) of the Constitution sets a threshold of at least 2/3 of the members of the National Assembly to vote in support of a special motion for proposed removal by impeachment of the Deputy President of the Republic for the motion to be carried. According to the results of the division on the motion that I've just declared, a total of 281 members, being more than 2/3 of the members of the National Assembly, have voted in support of the motion. Article 145(2)(a) of the Constitution provides that, I quote, if a motion under Clause 1 is supported by at least 2/3 of all members of the National Assembly, the Speaker shall inform the Speaker of the Senate of the resolution within 2 days.
Kabla ya zoezi la kupiga kura kuunga mkono hoja ya kumuondoa mamlakani naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua, wabunge walijadili kwa tabia na matamshi ya Gachagua ambayo wanasema ni ya kudhalilisha. Wabunge hao walimshambulia Gachagua kwa kujinufaisha kupitia ufisadi, mali ambayo si yake, matamshi ya kudhalilisha wanawake na pia kukiuka katiba kwa kumdhalilisha Rais William Ruto.
The National Intelligence Service holds a very critical role in ensuring the safety and security of our country. They are responsible for gathering intelligence and share it with all our law enforcement agencies to ensure that the country is safe at all times. Consequently, when the country was caught flat-footed with regard to the scope and extent of the public's dissatisfaction with the Finance Bill 2024, which degenerated in a Gen Z protest, it pointed to the failure of the National Intelligence Service in carrying out its mandate. I am persuaded that the National Intelligence Service ought to...
He who insults the jury deserves no mercy from the jury. His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua has insulted you before Kenyans. I urge you to rise up to the occasion.
The Deputy President accused the Director General of NIS of providing faulty intelligence and firing some senior officers. It is wrong. In fact, it is juvenile. It reveals him as a person who is unhinged and cannot control their tongue.
There is no other reason that has brought us here, Honorable Speaker. It is to protect the family that is being disinherited of their property under coercion, blackmail and threats. The Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, after being charged with the responsibility of making sure that we have guaranteed minimum returns for those farmers, he continued to go and give guaranteed minimum returns to himself.
He has no respect for women whatsoever. He has made a scathing public attacks on a woman high court judge.
Kwingineko ni kwamba naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua amesema kuwa alifuata nyayo za Rais Ruto alipokuwa anamkosoa mkurugenzi mkuu wa ujasusi Nathan Haji, akisisitiza kuwa hatua hii ilitokana na jinsi Rais Ruto alikuwa anawakosoa wakurugenzi wakuu wa serikali akiwa naibu wa rais na hadi akiwa rais, akisema kuwa hilo halipaswi kumuondoa serikalini, kwani alihisi kuwa serikali ingepewa ushauri wa kutosha wakati wa maandamano ya vijana wa kizazi cha Gen Z.
The National Intelligence Service holds a very critical role in ensuring the safety and security of our country. They are responsible for gathering intelligence and share it with all our law enforcement agencies to ensure that the country is safe at all times. Consequently, when the country was caught flat-footed with regard to the scope and extent of the public's dissatisfaction with the Finance Bill 2024, which degenerated in a Gen Z protest, it pointed to the failure of the National Intelligence Service in carrying out its mandate. I am persuaded that the National Intelligence Service ought to have known beforehand that the public was completely opposed to the Finance Bill, and they ought to have briefed the President before the protests began, and this would have caused a change of tact by government regarding the proposed bill and the protests which culminated in the loss of innocent lives and destruction of property could have been avoided. Hence, I expressed my opinion on this in my public media briefing in Mombasa, and my utterances were not any different from what happens in other countries when there is a lapse or failure by the intelligence agencies. The nation has witnessed unfortunate instances of several extrajudicial killings, abductions and disappearances. I firmly believe that if the National Intelligence Service had acted diligently, these instances would not have been witnessed. Honorable members, that was President William Ruto as Deputy President, criticizing IG Mutiabai, DCI Kinoti. Rigathi Gachagua has learned his job from his boss, that public officers must be caught to order when they fell short of expectation. And I never saw anybody bring William Ruto here for impeachment for criticizing the IG or the DCI. This is a very unfair allegation.
Naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua amejitetea kutokana na madai ya ufisadi iliyoibuliwa hasa kuhusu kampuni ya Shobika na ile ya Olive Garden, akisema kuwa mali ile kama ya Olive Garden ilikuwa ni ya ndugu yake ila sasa haimiliki. Na kutokana na kampuni ya Shobika, Gachagua amesema kuwa kampuni ile hamna. Amejitetea kutokana na madai ya ufisadi yaliyoibuliwa hasa kuhusu kampuni ya Shobika na ile ya Olive Garden.
By virtue of provisions of the third schedule of the Political Parties Act, the constituent parties of the Kenya Kwanza Coalition entered into various agreements which were deposited with the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate for purposes of Article 108 of the Constitution of Kenya. The following were members: UDA, ANC, Ford Kenya, PA, Farmers Party, Chama cha Kazi, Communist Party, Economic Freedom Party, Service Party. Olive Garden, my response. The allegations that I own the Olive Garden Hotel is false. The truth is that Olive Garden Hotel used to belong to my deceased brother, the late Honorable James Derito Gachagua, and therefore has never been my property. This is information that most of you may be aware, as it is in public domain. Upon his demise, my late brother left a will in which, in his recognition that I can take care of his family, he appointed me as one of the executors of his estate. In the said will, my late brother directed that the hotel should be sold, among other properties, and proceeds distributed as per the will. I'm also listed as a beneficiary together with other persons named therein. In accordance with these instructions, the hotel was sold by the executors to a third party. Owing to the above, I do not own the hotel and have never owned it, contrary to accusation in the motion. For supply of the nest, as per my understanding, was a pure grant from the Global Fund. I am aware that Shobika Impex Limited still participates in doing business with and has not been debarred by the Global Fund to date. I believe, being technically qualified to provide and deliver the goods subject of the tender document, having the financial ability to do so, and without their participation or assistance from Crystal Kenya Limited, Shobika Impex Private Limited independently participated and submitted in its bid in response to the subject tender pursuant to an invitation by KEMSA. Having not participated in the subject tender, Crystal Kenya Limited did not submit any of the documents in response to the subject tender. Specifically, Crystal Kenya Limited did not submit a bid board or tender security in its name in response to the subject tender. It is therefore not true that Crystal Kenya submitted a fake bid board with an intention to fraudulently acquire public property. It is also not true that with my sons I used Crystal Kenya to massively launder money, conceal proceeds of crime, engage in corruption, and benefit from influence peddling.
Naibu wa Rais Rigathi Gachagua amejitetea kutokana na matamshi yake ya shareholding, akisema walikuwa wamekubaliana kama vinara wa Kenya Kwanza, akisisitiza kuwa usemi wake haukuwa wa kumaanisha kuwa maeneo fulani kunyimwa maendeleo, kwani bunge la kitaifa ndio huwa wanatekeleza swala la kuhakikisha kila eneo linapata maendeleo.
By virtue of provisions of the third schedule of the Political Parties Act, the constituent parties of the Kenya Kwanza coalition entered into various agreements which were deposited with the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate for purposes of Article 108 of the Constitution of Kenya. The following were members: UDA, ANC, Ford Kenya, PA, Farmers Party, Chama cha Kazi, Communist Party, Economic Freedom Party, Service Party, Tujibebe wa Kenya Party, Umoja na Maendeleo Party of Kenya, and the Democratic Party of Kenya. In accordance with the provision of Clause 3, Schedule 3, a power sharing agreement and development agenda for the certain regions of Kenya, I attach copies of these agreements, RG32. All those agreements talked about specific regions. The leaders who appended their signatures canvassed issues of appointments to do with specific regions. Power sharing agreement between UDA and ANC and Ford Kenya, for example, say that the UDA would nominate the coalition president, the presidential and deputy presidential candidates that was honored. The ANC would be allocated the position of the prime cabinet secretary, which has happened. Ford Kenya would be allocated the position of the Speaker of the National Assembly, and that is why Honorable Masika Wetangula sits here today. In accordance with Article 2 of the Power Sharing Agreement, ANC and Ford Kenya would have a 30% share is a word, of the national government positions. This drives my utterances about shareholding. It is embedded in all these agreements that are attached here for you to read.
Naam, idadi kubwa ya wakazi wa Narok wameonyesha kutoridhishwa na uamuzi wa wabunge kupitisha hoja ya kumng'atua naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua hapo jana. Hii ni baada ya takriban wabunge 281 kuunga mkono hoja hiyo. Sasa wakazi hao wa Narok wanaomba seneti kuturuhusu naibu wa rais kuondolewa ofisini wakati ambapo watakuwa wanafanya maamuzi yao wiki ijayo.
Sijafurahia kwa Gachagua kutumwa nyumbani hata. So mimi naweza furahia kwa seneti tu msaidie tu arudi tu, mimi nitakuwa tu sawa. Sijafurahia MPs kumpeleka hata nyumbani hata. Mimi naweza tu furahia Gachagua akiwa tu vice president kama kawaida. Naona mimi Gachagua ako tu sawa kwa pande ya kazi yake. Acha tu endelee na kazi.
Nataka kusema ya kwamba mambo ya Gachagua vile ameimpichiwa, mimi sijafurahia juu hawajafanya vizuri juu walianza vizuri na Ruto. Wangeacha waendelee na kazi mpaka wamalize hata hiyo miaka 5 ndio wananchi waamue kama ataenda nyumbani ama haendi. Ilikuwa Senate wamrudishe wasimwimpeach.
Tunajiomba Senate sababu sasa hii kesi inaelekezwa kwenu. Nadhani nyinyi mnaonekana mko na uzima wa moyo wa kusikiliza sauti ya Wajiku ile anasema nini. Lakini msifuate vile wabunge walisema, kwa sababu wakati walilete stakabadhi katika kaunti zote ili tuweze kusema no or yes, walikuja na mchoro mwingine na stakabadhi ambazo hasikukubalika na wananchi wa Kenya, na tukakataa jambo lile. Na jana wakati wa ile motion surely hawakulete zile stakabadhi walikuwa wametuletea katika mashinani. Walileta maneno mengine na wanatumia nguvu kuongea maneno ambao ni aibu.
Sasa tuangazie taarifa zingine ambapo mkuu wa mawaziri Musalia Mudavadi amesema kuwa kama hawana budi kuipea ulingo wa kibiashara kipaumbele, kwani unachangia pakubwa kukuza uchumi wa kitaifa na pia kuzidisha kapu la mapato, akibaini kuwa pia ni sekta muhimu itakayorahisisha kulipa mikopo iliyokaba mataifa mengi ya Afrika kutokana na kiwango cha juu cha riba na kudidimiza maendeleo.
Not afford to ignore the cooperative movement. So I'm putting this forward so that as one of your resolutions, it would be so important that if you can also anchor yourselves within the IDA framework, the World Bank framework, so that you can draw more resources other than what members contribute, but draw more resources that can be channeled through the various cooperative movements. And you are better off managing those resources than some of the institutions elsewhere. So you'd be able to help a lot in the alleviation of poverty, in reaching out to the small businesses, in reaching out to the small farmer in all parts of the continent. And I think this is an important call for you to take up more aggressively. I would also say that it would be a good opportunity for the cooperative movement to also help in tackling this elephant in the room, the debt that is choking many African countries. Through the cooperative movement, through the savings culture, we have the ability and the capacity that can have a very serious impact in ensuring that the debt that is making it difficult for resources to be channeled through the efforts and the infrastructure around the cooperative movements. Again, we can have tremendous impact from yourselves, from your networks, from your assets.
Japo nisome jumbe mbili tatu. John Kalami anasema the impeachment has to remain, it's legal and he needs to go home. Deborah Mbinga anasema tuende nalo pamoja kutoka hapa Eastern Kenya Integrated College Bishop Ngala Campus. Jumbe hizi zinanipa fursa ya kutamatisha taarifa zetu za Undugu Adhuhuri. Endelea kutazama runinga ya Undugu. kwa vipindi murwa na taarifa nyingi zaidi mwendo wa saa 12 jioni. Kwaheri.